I hope you will not sleep while I'm speaking here, and hope you have a good breakfast. And I want to thank ASMI for the invitation and opportunity to be here and to talk to you in my poor English, but I think I will be understandable. And if not, please hold on and I will try to explain it better. So I'm here to talk to you about the legal requirements for registration of food and seafood products to export to Brazil. Firstly, I want to introduce myself. I have a company created in 2002, and Legali provides consulting services for food industries with the aim that they can commercialize their products without problems. I worked for 24 years with food regulation and began my professional work at ASMI, Brazilian Food Industries Association, where I worked for 10 years. There I had the opportunity to have contact with the whole regulation, Codex Alimentarius and Mercosur, and giving assistance to all the sectors of the food industry association, including fish industries. I was associated with another company for 4 years as a director, and in 2002 I founded Legali. We also, despite the regulatory affairs service, we deliver courses on food legislation in Brazil, and we also had a publication with the regulation about the Ministry of Health. I am in front of you. Okay, it's not, sorry. I cannot be invisible. Sometimes I would like to. Okay, and some of our clients, just for you to know, we worked with Mars for more than 8 years, the Cargill, Belita, Pfizer Nutrition, and Balduco. I think you know Balduco is a Brazilian food industry, but it has many products here in the United States. Well, our program is to give you an overview about the agencies that regulate food in Brazil, and then we will talk about the procedures to register the products to be exported to Brazil. There are many agencies and ministries legislating about food in Brazil. Here I mention only the 3 that directly legislate about fishery products, because we have 2 more. The Ministry of Development, Industry and Technology, with an agency that regulates waiver measures, and the Ministry of Justice that regulates consumer defense. But this is not the subject of our meeting today. Well, the first ministry regulating fish is the Ministry of Fish and Aquaculture, recently created since 2 years, and they look for risk assessment for aquaculture, which does not apply to the fishery industry of Alaska, but it is important to know. The National Agency of Sanitary Surveillance, the ANVISA, is an agency similar to FDA, and they regulate the health-related aspects to food. So they regulate the food additives and the processing aids that can be used in the manufacture of foods. They regulate nutritional labeling, contaminants, microbiological standards, functional foods, functional claims, and other ones. And they also have food standards. And finally, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Supply, MAPA, is similar to USDA, and they, through the Department of Animal Origin Product Inspection Service, the DPOA, they regulate about fish, meat, eggs, milk, margarine, and honey. And this is the most important ministry agency for you, and with whom we will work. Well, this is the first overview. Now, the presentation will be available. It's not a problem. Alexa can provide a copy for you. Well, when we when you intend to export to Brazil, we need to go through 4 steps. The first step is the plant and vessel registration at DPOA. The second step is to verify if your product complies with our food regulation. And the third step, then you register the product, the label. And the fourth step, so you can export. In Brazil, the DPOA does not make a register of the food. You register the label. It's different there. But you have to give information about the production and the composition of the food. One of the documents you have received is the circular letter number 42 from 2010. And we will speak about this in the next slides. Okay. The first step is to the registration of the plant vessel at DPOA and MAPA. And this is done through the US Embassy in Brasilia and NOAA. Okay? So these are the contact persons.
Susie?
Yes.
Not me.
Not you?
No, I'm not in the inspection program.
Okay, sorry. It was
That's
given
okay.
to me. sorry. Okay, and who is Linda, please?
What's Tim Hansen and Auntie?
Tim and Priscilla.
Well, Tim Hansen runs the secret inspection program. We have people around the country. And Bobby's from Washington, D.C., and he'll talk about that. And Eric is the lead person here in the Northwest.
Okay.
But I think everyone here knows Eric.
Okay, I'm sorry for wrong.
That's okay.
Thank you to correct me. So, here the company needs to give some information through Timothy. And that are the name of the company, the complete name, the address, telephone, fax, contact person, the number of the registration of the plant on the vessel at NOAA and NFS, and the description of the product the company is intended to export to Brazil. Please don't give smoked, salted fillets of cod. Say only smoked fish, because if the company gives the generic name, all the smoked fish can be exported then to Brazil. If you specify the kind of fish, you would always have to require a new registration to export these products to Brazil.
Question. So just frozen fish is better?
Yes, frozen fish, salted fish. Yes. Yes, you have to say this. And once approved, well, DPOA only register plant and vessels with US federal inspection. If there is no US federal inspection, DPOA will not give you the license to export to Brazil. And once given the license, your company will be on a list of establishments that are authorized to export to Brazil. And this list is like that. You can find it in the website of the Ministry of Agriculture. And here is the country, the United States, the area of fish, since MAPA regulates about milk, egg products, meat, fish. And here you see there is crab, frozen crab in pieces, frozen crab whole. If this company would mention only frozen crab, he could have been here. So you don't have any time to have your registration, you see. Here, this is frozen fish. All these companies, here are the control numbers, they are allowed to export frozen fish to Brazil. And here more. I tried to get some of Alaska. If I mentioned one of you and not the other, sorry, but I didn't know anywhere that would be here. And if your company is registered, okay? Here is the smoked fish. Well, when you are in this list, then the company is allowed to export to Brazil. Now we come to the second step. And what is the second step? The second step is to verify if the product you are intended to export to Brazil complies with our regulations. So the aim of the pharma product study is to check compliance. But I'm just exporting a frozen fish. What compliance do you need to check? There is a food standard that regulates fresh fish, canned tuna and bonito, canned fish and canned sardines. And there are more 4 regulations that will be approved, or 3, in the next month. Frozen shrimp, fresh shrimp, and frozen fish. So we need to know if your product complies with these regulations. We need to check if the additives used, when used, comply with the additive regulations too. And the processing aids you use during the manufacture of the product need also to be checked. So we will need all this information to say, okay, your product complies and you can export it to Brazil. If we talk about a product that has many ingredients and additives, we will need a list of all the ingredients used and all the additives with the percentage of each ingredient and additive to check the compliance, and also information about the processing aids. This information needs to be mentioned in the circular letter when we ask for the registration. So, the first step was to register the plant and the vessel. The second step was to see if the product complies with the Brazilian regulation. Okay, we passed through the first and the second. Now we go to register the label. The requirements and information on how to register the labels are provided in the circular letter that you have a copy. And the circular letter is in English for you to understand. So in this circular letter you will find also the minimum mandatory information for the label that needs to be affixed on the packet of the product. And what are the minimum mandatory information? The name of the product in Portuguese, the ingredient list if it has one in the recent order of amounts, the name of the producer, the number of the establishment, batch identification, manufacturing date and expiration date. And here we need to take attention because there is a different manner of declaring this data. We in Brazil declare day, month and year, not month, day and year. And this sometimes can bring trouble if one label has the stamp of the date as used in the US. So this is an important point to pay attention. The net content and the wording registration at the Ministry of Agriculture on the number, I will tell you about this number, and the origin. So I think these information are not more than you need to provide to your products when you sold it to any other country. Additional information on the product conservation, storage, and use can be displayed on the label. And we always need to check other agencies' regulations, if they are. They are mostly from products that intended to the final consumer, not intended to industries and not intended to the supermarkets. Okay? When you give a product to the consumer, you need to have more information on the label. This is an example of a label in Portuguese, and as you don't can read this information. I made a translation. So, here is the name of the fish, the trademark, the net weight, this information that must comply that it does not contain gluten, date of manufacture, expiration date, batch, maximum storage temperature, after defrost do not freeze it again. Sometimes we need to put this information here that the product is this will be exclusively retailed and repackaged in an establishment inspected by the OA. The name of the producer, or in Fifth Avenue in New York, there are many fish producers. So the name of the importer and the register number from the product at the OA. The importer does not need to be mentioned